Hi, it's Robbie from Southern California, and I'm going to try something because so many of you have great questions. And a lot of times I put my questions in garden tours, and then what happens is you ask me what the answer was, and I can't find it. Neither can you. So I've been getting a lot of questions on drainage holes. And the new me and the old me, I think, or the old me, she sent me a message, which is one of many, of how should I put my drainage holes in my totes. Here's the problem. I don't know. Now, why? Because I don't know your growing situation. You will have to set it up for your growing situation. If you are in an area that's getting tons of rain, I mean, it's raining all the time and you can't keep track of the water and where it's going, then make sure you've got a lot of drainage holes close to the bottom of your totes, because you want to make sure that water's going out so nothing gets waterlogged. That's one thing you got to think about, because you want to make sure your soil's good too and it drains well and everything. If you are in an area like us, Southern California, when we don't get a lot of rain, we want that water. That water in our totes means a lot to us. Well, it doesn't mean anything to us. It means everything to the plant. The plant needs a lot of water. So I tend to put my holes up higher. They could be 1 inch, they could be 2 inches, and in some cases, you could even go 3 inches. Don't worry about the water on the bottom. The water is going to wick up from the soil that's in there to the roots of the plant. And if it doesn't, the plants will go down and find the water because they'll be desperate. You're going to have to think about your growing situation. If you've got it on a drip system, which we don't have here at all, then it won't matter where you put your holes. You can put them all the way on the bottom or closer up, another inch or so. I hand water, and like, let's say in here, in the summer, I like to water at least once a day. I should say it once a day, and usually it's in the evening. Oh, Robbie, you can't water in the evening? It's not good for plants. I know, I hear that. I water in the evening, so this way the plants can really take up all that water, what they lost during the day, and when morning comes and the sun starts coming out, they're full of water, everything is going great, and then they're good all day. If I water in the morning, the plants have been weak all night, and I want them to take up as much water as possible. And then in the morning, they have to quickly get the water up, especially in the summer, to try to get the leaves full of water that they need before they release it back to the soil. Different plants do different things, and they may not have enough time. What time in the morning am I going to water? 5 o'clock? That would be good. If I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock, it'll work. But if it's 9 o'clock in the morning and then another hour or so it's going to get hot, it doesn't work. That's why for me, I water at night and the plants do well. I lose very few plants. Granted, I'm not running over 100 degrees for 3-4 weeks like a lot of you did, but we do run hot a lot of times in the summer. And when I was watering in the morning, it wasn't enough time for the plants to pull up and regenerate from what they had gone through the day before. I have found for my plants, it works better to water in the evening, let them pull up everything they need. And then in the morning, they're ready for that blazing sun. Give it to me, they say. Oh, I am ready for you. And a lot of times you'll see a lot of plants droop, but it's not because they're out of water. It's because they release the water back into the soil so they won't cook. In other words, the leaves will be just kind of hiding away and they fold down. And then you'll notice, even without touching them, the leaves will pop back up as soon as the sun drops because they're sucking the water back out. But of course, what you wanted to know about drainage holes. Drainage holes depends on how you're growing, and it's not a straight answer. I can't say just put them on the bottom, you're good to go. We do need drainage holes in everything that we're growing in. Okay, there's times I don't put drainage holes, but that's another story for another time, and it depends on what I'm working on. A lot of times I want to grow some plants in a coffee cup or something, and I'm careful on watering it. You can put kitty litter or some activated charcoal on the bottom, and then you'll be okay. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about vegetable plants that need a lot of water. You want the water to sometimes run through because it gets rid of a lot of the salts in the soil. It runs out, it's gone, and it helps keep the soil fresher. So it needs drainage holes, but where you put the holes will depend on your weather, your climate, and how you're watering your plants. I think it's safe to say in general, you can put it about an inch up, leave a little reservoir on the bottom. That's not going to hurt anything, even if you have a lot of water, kind of like how I've got them in here and how I show them all the time. And you should be good to go. It should be fine. Because if the plants don't want that much water, they'll just keep their roots up, kind of like pulling your feet in under the blankets when you're cold at night and your feet are sticking out. Well, they'll pull their feet in, or you're just too hot and you want to kick the covers off. Well, they'll go down and reach for water. So you could leave a half an inch to 1 inch and you should be fine with that. And the amount of drainage holes really depends on how well your soil is draining. If it's draining really good, I only have 3 drainage holes here, but you can put 5, 10, as many holes as your heart desires. The point is you want your water to flow through. If there's too much and a little bit on the bottom is okay. If it collects too much water, like some of them have 2 inches, you won't get any earthworms down there because earthworms don't swim, neither do microbes. So they'll just kind of stay there and above it, and it will just be a reservoir of water, but you're not going to see it. It's under the soil. It's not going to hurt anything. And then if you forget to water, you go away, it got hot, the plants used up all the water. At that point, the water, because the soil's all touching, we're not separating it with fabric or anything. We're not making a wicking bed where it's just going to sit there. It will actually touching the soil because it's soil and everything you loaded in there will wick back up and go back into your tote. So if you dug it up at that point, if you didn't water for a few days, you might find it dry on the top and then dig down and find out it's a little damp. And then on the bottom, it'll be just a little damp because the water has been pulled up by the plants. It will depend on how many plants you're growing too. Squash, zucchini, they use a lot of water. Tomatoes don't need a ton of water. So you don't, you kind of have to think about plants. Peppers don't mind getting dry. If they stress out a little bit and the soil gets dry, you'll suddenly see them burst into flower because they think, oh my gosh, it's too dry. I've got to produce before something happens to me. So all the plants are a little different. But you know what? In my chair garden, they're all the same. They all have their holes about 1 inch from the bottom. They all have a little bit of water. I come out here once a day in the evening, just go in a circle with the hose. I water everything. Sometimes it drains out, and if the soil got too dry, it may not drain out with the amount of water I watered it, but there's going to be plenty of water in here. Totes is something I love to grow in because here in Southern California, being dry and warm, not necessarily are we all hot, water cannot evaporate through the plastic. There's only one place for the water to evaporate, and that is up. There's no other place to go out except for what drains out but can't evaporate that way. So this really helps retain water for our plants. And I think if you remember that, give it good drainage, leave, if you've got a lot of water in your cooler where you are, leave a half an inch on the bottom so you have a little bit of water on the bottom. The plants can go down there. A lot of stuff will break down, and there will be like plant fertilizer down there if they want it. And they'll go down there, reach to the bottom and grab it if they need it. If they don't need it, they won't bother. And I think that's the best answer to do on drainage holes. Now, I want to try this. If you like the idea of me answering one question, though I diverse and go in all different directions like usual, and there's going to be other things in there like evaporation and plants and stuff. But if you like the idea that I answer one question in a video like this, something on the short side that you can sit down and listen to and think about, tell me. Put it in the comments saying, yes, I like this. I can find that because I have a lot of questions that really are hard to get in there and answer because I really have so much to say, like what kind of bird food do you feed? What's the best seed? What about what containers should I grow in? Where do I get a chair? I can't find plastic chairs. Is there something else I can use? I got a million answers. But if I put it all in one Q&A, you're not going to sit there and listen if you've got 1,000 chairs in your backyard you picked up on the side and the curb, but you wanted to hear about the totes, where to put water. So if you like this format, give me a thumbs up and tell me in the comments, I like this. Answer individual questions with your opinion. And remember, All this is my opinion, the way I grow, what works for me. You are going to take whatever I do and you're going to tweak it so it will work for you. Gardening is not a set standard. Gardening is different for everybody because every climate is different, including this tote versus this tote. If the sun is coming across, one of these may get more sun than the other, and you have a slight microclimate. This one is being wind sheltered. The tomato plant is wind sheltering the plants that are growing in this tote. This one's open. Nothing's wind sheltering it. So everything is a microclimate. That's why we have to kind of try different things. Some things they'll tell you, you can't do that. Well, yes, you can. It didn't work for them because something maybe they were doing wasn't right. So anyways, see how I try to drift off? I try not to, but I do drift off into other things. Tell me if you like this. Today it was on drainage holes, where to put them in totes. I use a soldering iron. I use a power station. Mine's a 200 watt. I got it from Walmart. I actually have 3 of them because I use them in the house as well. If I'm going to go to a table and go use a glue gun or something and there's no plug around, I can go ahead and plug into that, and it's so convenient. You know what? This is not a joke, but the amount of time I use it, I think I've only charged them up this year maybe twice or 3 times. They really hold a charge for a long time. How long they're going to last for, I don't know, but I've had them for quite a few years, and I love them. I can run out here, make holes in my totes and make holes in lids if I'm covering things or other pots. And then I use, like I said, my glue gun. And then there was one time we lost power at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I could plug in a light if I needed it. It's great for emergencies, but you don't need it. You can use an extension cord if you were going to use a soldering iron to go ahead and make holes. Or you could plug it in the house and run real fast out here with a hot soldering iron, and you could get maybe not 5 minutes, but close to it. And that was the other way I used to do it until I got my power unit. You can't use a power bank. It's not strong enough, but the power stations, 200 watts is perfect. I don't know if you can hear them, but I have 2 ravens that are screaming at me. So with that, tell me what you think about this. I'll see if this works. If it does, I could do this. Hey, heck. Hey, every day I can sit back here, get ready to water my garden and think, I had a question today. Maybe I can sit down, take a break and answer it. So with that, have a wonderful day. Do have drain holes. Everything has drain holes. And remember, if you put the drain holes on the very bottom and you've got trees growing around and they're going to send their roots in maybe, you'll end up losing your plants that way unless you elevate it. And we keep the holes as much as we can above the soil, so this way the tree roots can't find it. And the other thing about totes, whether they're on a chair or in the garden, you won't get gophers. And you know how we cover it with tulle to protect our plants. And now I just went all over the place, didn't I? But you got the gist of what I was talking about. Holes. Make the drainage holes in a fashion that will work for the plants that you're, forget the plants because you're going to change your plants, in the way it will work for your garden. Because I may have tomatoes here, the holes are the same, and then I may move them next year here, and the peppers here and there. The point is, make the holes that will work for your area and your garden, and you'll be good to go. So with that, have a wonderful day, and don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye.